It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stolen base, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness. Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast. Today, Legion Baseball Talk. And on the show today, joining me from the southern central part of the state is Mark Lewis. He is the newest member of the state commission, head coach down at Jackson Tribe, Legion Baseball, Post 158. Been a member of Legion Baseball. We're going to find out. I don't know that, but we're going to find out from him. And we want to welcome him to the show. Thanks for coming on, bud.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. I'm hoping you can hear me okay and everything's good on your side over there. But thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. We've talked about this a few different times and just haven't had the chance to do it. But, getting to know you a little bit, chatting it up over the last couple of years since we've been working with Legion Baseball. You took on a new role. What got you into that?
You're talking about for the state commissioners?
The state commissioners, yes, sir.
Tom asked me that to join, and I had an interest in that, just because, just having more, I guess, some more say-so or kind of involved in the direction in which Legion Baseball is going in Missouri. I feel like that, we've had a little bit of a lull, but we've also made kind of a comeback as far as teams. I love Legion Baseball. I love what it stands for. I love the fact that it's a community team and the importance of that. So getting involved with the commission was helping with just how things, the overall way things are run, as far as the tournaments, how we do things, the rules, and stuff like that. I guess the way the engine works for Missouri in the baseball program, I wanted to be a part of that, and I think that I've joined that and are helping with the rules of how we do the game. The way we do the games and stuff.
Let me ask you, you've been, I'm sure you probably played Legion Baseball, I would imagine.
Yeah, I played at Cape. Yep.
Cape, okay. How long have you been part of the Jackson program? And, as a commissioner looking back at these things, what do you think is the driving factor for what Post should take on? As if you're looking at it as state commissioner, how are you going to help these posts understand what their processes are and how they continue to grow?
Well, a couple different things. I started in Legion Baseball. My first year was 1994, and I won a state championship the very first year I was coaching the Cape Junior Legion team. And I just got out of college and started doing, getting into baseball. And then I did have a site, I was in Legion, Cape Senior Legion for 4 or 5, and then I went to SEMO as an assistant coach. And then once I got, we started having my own kids. Some of the road trips for college baseball was a little tough, getting home from Oklahoma State and Ole Miss, whatever. My wife's just staring at me going, what do you think? So I got back into local scene and I started doing more of that. And I got into Jackson. So I started there about 2000. So it's 2024. So it's almost 25 years, I think, that I've been at Jackson for the Jackson Legion program. And, you asked me something else too, but on the back end of that, of where do I see it going? Is that what kind of you were asking?
Yeah.
As far
Just in let me restate this a little bit for you. Because you're on
Yeah.
the commission now, and I know your program whatnot, but there's a lot of new programs, growth and whatnot, and there's some new guys.
Right.
How do you see yourself helping some of these programs understand what it takes to grow a Legion program?
Well, part of the vision that Tom Rose has, who's the state commander now, and Gary Stone was before that, and Gary did a great job. And then Tom has come in a little bit different leadership style, but I do like what Tom has implemented, that with Red Earth and with different programs of getting more information out there about Legion baseball, what we represent, what our mission statement is, what we're trying to do, what we feel like we've been doing, and to kind of combat some of the fallacies that are out there about Legion baseball and or travel baseball or what like um, just representing what the good sides of Legion baseball without tearing down someone else's program. Meaning, we could sit here all day and talk about the bad side of different programs, but what's really the point of that? The point is try to explain to people what we offer, what we're doing, what we see the future as, and getting better in that way, and then helping teams to grow their own programs across the state with different ideas of the Division II league and just different ways in that way. I think getting more information out there and doing different things with the All-Star games that we're doing and the coaching clinic that's been done and the I don't know, we did a PBR thing this last
Mm-hmm.
year, and I know Kent Getsy at Washington has done it for several years, but just little things like that, like just really trying to promote ourselves to say, hey, we've got a lot of good things going, and we enjoyed the youth coming through and playing baseball, and it's affordable and just different aspects like that.
I like the way you put that because I always love the fact that if you're going to compete with somebody, take your positives, your strengths, and share that with people. There's always weaknesses and things you can take and grow from and learn from. Everybody does that. Positives, negatives. But if you give people the things that you do well and share that information and whatnot, it gives people an opportunity to make their decisions, which it should be. It's about their children. I've always said, people are going to make decisions to the best they think they can. You hope about their child's future and what they want to do. And if you can present a pathway and opportunities to a family for their son or daughter or however it moves through, you got an opportunity to give them a spot, a shot. Those are the types of things. And I think, as you said, with Legion, there are so many positives with the community, with the opportunities that are there. I like the aspect of with the PBR thing. It's going to give players an opportunity to see their metrics. How are you competing against other kids at your age level? You want to get recruited to a particular school. Well, you see this kid getting recruited to this school. Where do your metrics measure up, and how can you compete to that end? And how do you go to your coach, your players, your staff, and as a group, and start helping these kids understand how they can meet and measure up to those things, and set goals for them. And I think that's the great part of this that I see happening across the board in American Legion.
Right, and I think you're right about, I've been coaching for a long enough time to say that when guys talk to me about I want to go to showcases, and I've always been a proponent of it. I've coached in college, I've coached in high school. I don't have any problem with that, but you got to have something to showcase. You have to have the measurables of certain things. Now, again, I'm not trying to say that a kid that um, enjoys baseball. There are many different divisions in college to go to Division 1, 2, 3, junior colleges, different divisions. But I can tell you right now, if you walk into a lot of camps and throw 95 miles an hour, there's a lot of people that are going to like you. They are, like, that's not a hidden. So if you want to say to a young man and say, look, there's your goal, get to 95, and there's going to be, there's a lot of people that are going to like you. And therefore, if you're only throwing 55, I don't know, maybe, like, you need to work on getting to a certain level that is acceptable for whatever. But like I said, I think that for Legion baseball, they give opportunities to kids to stay in their community, to be around their friends, to be around all of that. And I think that that's somewhat missed when you go and do different things and you're traveling all the time, and there's not as much of that camaraderie and everything. And sometimes that's what I miss the most. I mean, when I look back on a lot of it is the teammates and the players and the families and the different things that you touch base with, as opposed to, just one tournament that we went to or whatever. And again, not trying to poke fun of any other. We go to tournaments too. I'm saying in general, those things are looked upon as people saying, well, we did this because we were trying to get seen by this person or this outlet or whatever. And I would say that you need to have something for them to look at. Meaning, you need to be a very good player, and then a lot of that stuff takes care of itself. With the amount of internet things, like I'm on the phone in my living room with you right now. So for a kid to throw very hard, to not get seen is kind of ridiculous. It's we're not in the. I don't want to go back too far. I'll date myself, but in the '80s, we didn't have like when a helicopter flew over, you ran out and was like, "What is that? Like, why is that here?" So now you can film stuff. A kid can go on Twitter. Like it's pretty rare that a kid's not seen, and they say those things like, "I want to be seen by this team or that team," and I'm like, "Guys, you guys are give me that problem. If you're throwing 95, I won't have any problem getting you seen or by whoever you want. Like that's pretty simple."
Let me ask you this, and I think these are things that are very interesting to me. You've been in that program a while. Coach Roach down there at Jackson High School. You have the smaller schools around you. Of course, Saxony, you said you've got some of these players. What are the relationships there? And if you're a coach here and you're talking to a young coach, what is it to develop those relationships with the high school coaches to get some opportunities to talk to the kids, how to build that community around that? What would you say?
First thing is that for you have to have a relationship with your base school. Okay, and what I mean by that is the way Legion's done is you have a base school, and then it branches out from your base school. The bulk of your kids, not always, and not like every year, the bulk of your kids need to be coming from your base school. When you're successful, continue to have a successful program, and what I mean by that is how many kids that you have. If you don't have a relationship with your base school coach, it's not going to work. It's just not. They're going to do other things. They're going to, like, you want those to have good relationships back and forth to where you're helping him and he's helping you. When you don't have that, the lifeline of your program kind of suffers. And when you have a bunch of kids from the surrounding schools, again, can you be successful? You can. You can go and win and do well and all that, but you're not going to do well for a long period of time, if that makes sense. Like you really have to have the bulk of your kids coming from there. And then a lot of kids spill in that are good players at Saxony, that are good players at Oak Ridge, that are good players at. Does that make sense? Like it's kind
Yeah.
of like a set.
Yeah.
So I encourage other teams to do something similar to that. I had a coach a couple of years ago call me and goes, "I can't stand the coach at." I'm not going to say who it was, but I can't stand the coach at this base school. And I was like, "Don't have a team. You're not. I mean, it's just you're going to struggle. Like you then hire him, or like it's just very difficult. And you get and this. I'll say this for the base school coaches. Here I am working with several Jackson players, and I'm not. This is not a. I'm just giving an example. But Coach Roach has got to have some trust in me that I'm going to have an interest in those kids, and I'm going to try and help them develop. And he's not. He's going to like that. He's going to want that, and I would too. That makes sense. Like I want those kids playing. I want them in a good environment. I want them, whatever. So I think you have to have that relationship. And again, like I said, the community wise. So I encourage those teams that are doing it that way, base school kids, and then having some of your satellite schools helping out and working is the best route to have. And
Mark, I want to ask you about this because I've had this conversation with Tom, and I think it's something that maybe didn't happen in some ways, I'm not sure, but you're talking about, and I love what you talked about as far as relationships and things of that nature, and Coach Roach, trusting those things. You're a baseball guy. You're not going to do this forever. I'm sure your wife will probably look forward to the day that she, those are all those things. So what is it, how do you consider and what do you start looking at so the Jackson program continues past you?
Yeah, right now we have what's called the Jackson Tribe program. And the Tribe program starts at 8 years old. And the Tribe program is just travel baseball, like we have our own little, and there's at certain ages, there's 8U and there's 3 teams. At 9U there's 14. Like it just depends. I don't have it in front of me, but
Sure.
there are so many kids in that program. Again, it's set up the same way as the Legion program, that the bulk of your kids will come from Jackson, but the kids in the surrounding area that are close to us, the kids that we typically will look at and keep, are on these teams. So I would say that what you're asking me is what would happen. I think another guy would have to pick up the torch at the 15, 16-year-old division and continue what we've been doing, which is, and it's not just by myself. Brian Austin was the former baseball coach for several years before Roach took over, but he started having his kids, and his wife was like, "Hey, yeah, what are you doing all the time?" So he started doing a little bit of this, like what we're talking about. So from 8 to 15 years old, he helps with the Jackson Tribe program. I really stick with the older groups, the 15, 16, 17, 18, that age group. And someone says, "Is it Legion?" I'm like, "Yeah, yes, we play in the Legion program, but they don't have Legion at 8U." So we start doing that. So I guess to answer your question would be that I would assume a guy that has an interest in the program and that's been in the program would kind of take over and do some of those things, so it is sustained for the future.
And do would you take an active role, if you're looking, at some point, I'm sure you're looking to relax one out, would you take an active role in talking to these kids, hey, what's your next step? Would you like to take this role? Because it is a commitment to the kids too, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think you realize how much of a commitment it is until you get to the end of the summer or you get to the end of it and go, man, I'm tired. Like this was a long year. You know, I mean, last year you saw me. We were at the Final Four or Final Six for
Mm-hmm.
Senior Legion, and my assistant coach, by no fault of his own, he'd been getting off of work for so long to where he couldn't get off. We had to go to Kansas City to play, and I was by myself, throwing BP, doing all the things, and you know as well as I do, I enjoy it, but I enjoy sitting there too. Like I could have been resting or whatever, like getting ready for a ball game. So it it wears on you, but you think about those types of things, Brian, as you get to the end of the year when it's 107 degrees and you're just you kind of wear down.
Mm-hmm.
But I really still would miss uh, the aspect of that. You know, for me, it's I enjoy the challenge of new team, new players, figuring out what I have, figuring out how we were going to win, or how we, you know, those types of things, how we can get on to the next. It's just kind of a puzzle for me, and I think a lot of coaches are the same way. They're trying to figure it out. You know, the last year's club. You saw my club 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were in the same place, and I think we had 3 kids from that club to the next year, and they were great. Maybe 4. I don't remember which, but
Yeah.
my point is that it's a whole new group, and it's a whole new transition to get. Does that make sense? So
Yep.
I still enjoy it. So I don't see me going, hey, I mean, I'm throwing BP at 100 degrees at Kansas City by myself. So if I don't like it or love it, I'm in, you know, like that's crazy. Like who does that? I mean, right? Like I could go drive in my car or something and not, you know, turn on the AC. But I enjoy it, that side of it, if that makes sense. So
Absolutely. I got to ask you this then, as a commissioner now, commissioner, you're
yeah,
looking at these things and you understand the difficulties of this and the landscape's changed and things and you look at this scenario. American Legion baseball has always been volunteer and I don't have a problem with that. I think I volunteered my time in places coaching and things. I think it's a fantastic thing to do. But as you're looking at the growth and the movement of things, just as you're saying here, and trying to get off work, how does Legion, address some of those factors? With a younger coach coming in, is he getting paid? Where do those things go, and how do you guys think you need to address some of those questions?
that's a good question. I would say right now that teams are used to players paying a fee to play baseball. They've been doing that since they were 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now the difference Legion and or different programs is the fee. You know, is it $500? Is it $4,500? And to the amazement of a lot of people that don't know this, there are many kids that pay upwards of $3,000 as the norm.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, am I saying there's anything wrong? No, what it says is that you're putting more revenue into your thing to where you can pay coaches or you
Right.
can help with different things in that nature. So, I think it's up to each program to kind of design their own way of handling their businesses so that you can get a decent coach. Um, to come around. And one of the hard things is, which is hard for other people to understand, but is the fact that Misha allows only for a certain amount of contact days for high school coaches, which limits your, I guess, hiring field or whatever. Like the people that you're going to get to run the baseball program, it's hard to get guys that want to run Jackson or Saxony or whatever in the summertime that don't have a Jackson or Saxony kid on the team.
Right.
So it becomes difficult somewhat. And so what you end up doing is looking at, like you said, younger high school kids, college kids age, to where they come out and want to work at it, and their first question is hey, what can you help me out with gas, or can you for driving these places, or paying them something. So it's become a more viable thing that you really kind of got to watch out for that, to and understand that it's just changed, that you need to compensate these guys. And the other thing I'll say is that we've to help with that, we've gone to a little bit different um, way of doing things. We play Wednesday midweek games and tournament week, during the week. Meaning you practice Tuesday night, you play a Wednesday midweek game, maybe even a doubleheader, and then a Thursday BP evening, and then go into the weekend and play, your weekend tournaments, if that makes sense. Like, so you're eliminating some of the midweek doubleheader at local places. I'm torn on that, Brian. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind playing 7 o'clock games, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then being off for the week. Like I could do whichever.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I don't. It doesn't bother me either.
I agree with you. Go back to the grind a little bit. Where you got even if you split it up, you do a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Monday, Tuesday, and a Thursday, Friday, and you
Right.
get the day off in between. I think there's a lot of ways, and it just tournament baseball can be interesting. It can be fun, but I think there's still some some space for that. What does the league provide? And you're playing and you're pushing yourself. You're already playing 45, 50 games in about a 6-week period anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it gets to be tough.
The thing I'll say is that when people ask me why they do that, I'm like, well, the eight, it's set up by the younger division, meaning that at 8 and 9, that's what they do. Does that make sense? Like,
Yep.
the parents do that because a lot of the dads are coaching the teams. When we get to 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old division, I try to get away from that.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I a dad? Yes, I'm a dad of 4 kids, but none of them are on the team. There's a little difference in that. You try to get to that, but again, who are you going to find that's interested in doing that doesn't have a kid on the team? Like, it's not easy for that. But back to my point of the younger divisions are doing the play a midweek and then play, and then go on to the weekends. And again, the reason is because of travel. The parents want to see their kids play. And for me, this is, again, I'm going to show my age here, but you might, Brian, you might remember this. But at a younger age, when I was a kid, and if my dad's passed, so he won't be able to, he can look down from heaven and see me saying this, but sometimes my parents weren't at my games. Again, that's a shocker for some parents to hear that. But you would go and play in games that your parents weren't at. That's not acceptable nowadays, right? Right or wrong, I'm just saying, like, so when they're setting their schedule up for travel ball, they want to make sure and set their schedule up to where they're at their games. Again, not judging that, don't, but I'm just saying that when they get to my level, when they get to 18 years old, sometimes they're not at the game. They're just, their girlfriends are there, but the parents don't. Like, they don't have to drive them to the game anymore. Again, I'm saying it jokingly, but I'm kind of serious. Like, that's part of why the schedule is that way. So as they go up 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and they get to 15 or 16, and they keep doing the same type of thing, meaning midweek and then weekend tournament. You know why they're doing it? Because that's what they've been doing since they were 8, 9, 10. I usually lean towards, hey, we're gonna play I think last year we did this. We opened up with 8 straight games, or not 8 straight, but we played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, just one game a night, and then did another Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we played 8 games. Of just, and then we did a little bit of tournament ball because I don't know all these, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to figure out what I got and start setting up my pitching and those types of things. And when you go to a tournament, a lot of times, Brian, you're trying to win, right? Like, if you, I don't know, like that's what tournaments inspire younger coaches to do. If they're undefeated in a tournament, they're very unlikely to play some of their backup players. I'm playing my backups. I'm playing my other kids because I don't know if they are my backups. They might be my best play. I'm trying to find out information in some of these tournaments. So I'd rather do that in regular season games and go from there. But
Well, it's kind of like you know, eight games in 11 days. You're basically running a spring training just to kind of see what you got, right?
exactly what it is, and the good way of doing it, thinking of it that way, is that you got to remember all these kids come off of spring ball. Like in the spring, it's hard to do that. But okay, they've been practicing for 3 months. So when they come into 8 games in 11 days, it's really not that big a deal. To be honest with you, in school ball, they practice twice as much as they play. And in summer ball, they play twice as much as they practice. So they've gone 3 months of practice. So you go into the summer, they're ready for some games. Like, especially guys that like, that you mean, Coach, we can play a game today and we don't have to practice tomorrow? No, I don't care. Like, does that make sense? Like, just running off some games and going, hey, this is fun. I just got to show up and warm up and play. And I'm like, yeah, and then go home.
And because you get that 8 games in 11 days, you can kind of start taking notes. You may know a lot of the kids and stuff, but some of these kids may be coming in, you're taking notes. Then you can kind of practice and say, hey, these are a couple things we need to work on as a group, as a team, because maybe you haven't played with this kid over here because he's from Saxony. This kid's come from Jackson. And so it's just a little melding of the things, just some finer points, because, they're not used to playing with each other.
Well, I'll say this, Brian, that you can bring back the exact same team that you had the year before, and it's still different. It doesn't matter, like it really doesn't. And what happens is that what you just said right there, we'll come in and play some games. And I had a kid last summer that told me, and I've had this before, but told me, I'm like, I'm not, like I was working him out at first base, and he told me, he's like, I'm not a very good first baseman. Like I don't handle it very well. Well, after about 3 or 4 games, I looked at him and I go, man, you were absolutely right. You are terrible at first base. You're going to have to go over to second or what. But I at least wanted to see it, probably because he probably had the kid had a big bat. So I'm trying to find some way, like, can you please let the ball hit you, or like you're such a good hitter. But DHs are easy. Like people go, well, he can DH. I'm like, yeah. I've had 7 DHs. Like somebody's got to catch the ball. Like right, like somebody walk out there and figure out, like when the guy throws it, somebody got the glove on.
And folks, Mark's not tired. He's had 2 of the last 3 years been in. The last 2 years you've been in the state tournament.
Last 2 years.
Yeah, so these are good baseball teams.
Yeah, no, we got third 2 years ago, and then last year we didn't get off the bus on the way there. The long trip to Kansas City, forgot or left our bats or whatever. But there are certain aspects that's funny, but I'm pretty open that you're trying to find where your kids. Let me back up. the kids that come into the summertime also, they're coming from a different place. For example, Jackson, we had a couple kids that were bullpen guys
Mm-hmm.
for Jackson, and they had a really good pitching staff that were 5, 6 deep. But again, in school ball, you might only play 3 games a week. They might not get to their fourth starter, right? Like so. A guy that's a fourth or fifth is not getting a lot of innings, and then come summertime, here I go 11 games or 8 games in 11 days, and I'm like, hey, what are we? That kid's not ready for a 7 inning out. Like you've got to build him up, and you got to figure that kind of stuff out. And and then when this guy's pitching, can this guy go to first base or second? Can he let the ball hit him and still, like whatever? You know what I'm saying? Like you're trying to find those things out. And to me, in a game that's me versus a local team, and it's a little better setting for that than it is in a tournament trying to win. And again, we're going to those tournaments, but I think that kid, if he's learning that, if he's trying to teach me that he can't play first, that's what I say. If he's trying to teach me that he can't play first, in a local game, it's a little less like you're right. You cannot. If there's a tournament, that stress level is a little bit different, and the way that he handles that is different.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
and people are like, "Well, those are like practice games," and I'm like, "You understand that the kids in the Dominican walk out, and they're the best players in the world, right? Right in the major leagues. Those kids walk out with a cardboard cutout glove and play in the street, and they're awesome. So I just think that you're trying to find out what those kids can do, and then put them in tournament time in the environment that they can handle. If that makes, that's the way I look.
I got one last topic just to ask you real
Yeah.
quick. It's Centennial 2025.
Oh, yeah.
100 years of American Legion baseball. Just kind of in, quick, what does that mean to you?
I mean, I love it. I love the fact that we've been around a long time. I think that Legion baseball there for a lot of years was the creme de la creme, right? Like that was the way it is. And then people we went away from it for different reasons. Not going to get it, good and bad, different reasons. And it's made a little bit of a comeback, especially in Missouri, and then in the northern states, it's really big still. But for me, for the 100, right now I'm in the I don't know what we're doing phase, and I'll be real honest with you. We've talked about different things. I think for me, the recognition of it with the patch on the jerseys, Tom, different guys opened up the idea of the Centennial baseballs, putting a stamp on the baseballs. And again, we haven't decided this. We've talked about putting a stamp on the baseballs, and then at the state tournament, that's the baseballs that we use. We've talked about getting it enough to where if the guy hits a foul ball, that the kids get to keep it. And I'm like, well, that's great. At the state tournament, in regionals, there's a lot of people there. But for local games, I don't know, there might be 7 people, and 6 of them are all related to the kids that are playing. So, I mean, I would say we're in still the, what do you call that? Not brainwashing, but just
Brainstorming.
Brainstorming, yeah, not brainwash, but right, like we're trying to figure out what we think. But I think something along the line with the patches and the local deal of getting the Legion local guys interested in that, I think would be big. And then lastly, just from the state side of it, I'd like something on the baseball at the state tournament. And then the regional is going to be in Washington, Missouri again this year. That'll bring in 8 teams. I think it's important to have that there as well. So,
very good. Well, Mark Lewis, everybody, Jackson Legion Baseball, post 158. Last thing here, How do you guys connect yourselves to the post there at 158? And what are some things you guys do?
I've got some really good, for years, again, I've been here 20, 25, whatever it's been. We've had some really good liaisons that were friends of mine that were also in the post. So they would update the post people there. And then when we kind of turned the program around, so to speak, to where we were one of the better teams in the state, meaning, our freshman teams won 6 or 7 state titles, and this team's won. You know what I mean? Like we kind of got it turned around to where we were real. Then I started coming in and giving them updates. And who the heck wouldn't want to give updates when you're good? I mean, it's nice, And those guys, when we weren't very good, they had to go in there kind of probably with their hat in their hand, going, "Well, we won 4 games," and whatever they had to say. But now it's a little bit better. And even with that being said, I think the first part of that was they wanted to win. They wanted to win games. They wanted to do good. But then after a while, I started hearing more about they want to see us doing more things in the community. They wanted to see us being a part of the hamburger stand at the homecomers thing that we did, or they wanted they needed help with these different projects, and they wanted some players to come in. So I would say it's grown between myself or the kids and the Legion in town, to where they do the color guard every year. They come out, and they almost got blown over last year. I mean, they came out and the wind was howling, and they were out there for our opening day. And God bless them, man. We almost lost one of those little guys. He just was barely hanging on. He had the flag and everything, but just things in that nature that I love including them in that, and they are so excited, and just they feel a part of the program as well. And again, winning's nice. Don't get me wrong. Everybody likes winning, but I think also raising the bar as far as their character, the selflessness, the interest in some of what those guys are doing. It's kind of amazing that it still works after all these years, that it's still a viable way for young men to work with some of the older guys and listen to them. And I think that's kind of a dying thing that I want to keep around. I think it's important. But they've enjoyed it, and I think we've enjoyed it as well.
Cool. I love that stuff. Mark Lewis, thank you very much for joining us, buddy. I want you to stick around after we sign off here, because I got a question to ask you about the Centennial. Sure. But folks, check out Jackson Baseball, Jackson Tribe. I love the connection there. I'm going to have you come back, and we're going to talk about that connection with the local organization, the younger kids. We'll get into that a little bit more, because I think that's a fascinating conversation, and I think something that maybe other programs should look into, as far as, especially in the smaller communities. I love that thought processes.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. So, folks, thanks for tuning in. If you love Legion Baseball, go ahead and hit the subscribe button right down there. Hit the dinger. It's a notification bell. Get you notifications, not a home run, but, it's just as good, because it gets you notifications for upcoming episodes such as this. Love talking Legion Baseball. And so please, we look forward to it. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, you got some advice for pitchers, Mark?
For pitchers? How long do we have?
Make it quick.
Well, I mean, I think real quick, because I do a lot of pitching stuff. I'll say that: make sure you're giving yourself proper time off, and make sure you're giving yourself proper ramp up time for whatever season that you're doing. I think that too many kids don't stop. They throw and throw and throw, meaning if you got a 12-month deal, that you need a 2-month off somewhere. Don't care where. And be off from, take some breaks, and then make sure you're ramping up to your season. And I think that'll take care of a lot of the issues that we're having with young pitchers. But yeah, you asked me something I could talk on that.
I love it. It's good
You should
advice.
start with that. Yeah, no, you should start with that. I
We'll do that.
Yeah, you get me going on.
We'll get you back. We're gonna get Mark back on the show to have some talks and some chats. We got all off season, Mark.
Yeah, no, awesome. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All you hitters, here's my advice for the hitters, Mark. Hit them where they ain't.
That's right. Yeah, or hit it to the guy that couldn't be at first base, like I said. Well, not a first baseman. I love that. I mean, at least he was honest. Hey,
He was honest.
Let me go. Let me know when we're hitting, because I'm not. Well, the Yankees had several of those guys, right? They couldn't field. I mean, they got some hitters, but you see that defense, man. You got to be able to field the ball, boys. I mean, good lord.
Folks, we'll see y'all next time.